Hello, welcome. In today's video, we're going through 5 things to keep in mind when setting boundaries with friends and family. Boundaries are you asserting yourself and telling the people around you how you will accept to be treated and making sure that they respect you. The first thing to keep in mind when setting boundaries is you need to express yourself clearly. This may seem obvious, but people can't read your mind. If you are upset that someone is constantly talking about your weight or the way you look and the way you dress and you think that's inappropriate and you don't want them talking to you like that, you need to express that clearly, not couched in language to try and make them feel better about you setting the boundary of being like, maybe do you think that, no, just, you don't have to be rude about it, but just state very directly, hi, could you not make comments about my weight? Or could you not make comments about my style? That doesn't make me feel good. I would prefer if you didn't do that. I am the way I am. I dress this way. Be very direct, express yourself clearly, because not only is this then giving the person a very, very obvious boundary that they can think, oh gosh, I didn't realise that that was a problem, or I was only making a joke about this thing, but because you have made it so clear and expressed yourself so clearly, it means that if that person crosses the line, that is also very clear. It is a very clear line that you've laid down saying, I don't want to talk about this, or I don't answer my phone after this time, or I don't answer emails after this time. And when those people attempt to contact you outside of a time when you said you would be available, they know that you are not going to respond. And then you can keep your boundary and be like, no, not going to deal with that until tomorrow. So the first thing, important, express yourself very, very clearly. The second thing that I think is important to bear in mind when setting boundaries is do not tolerate people using your pain or your past behaviour against you in a way that is disrespectful to things that you've shared in the past. I thankfully don't have a lot of experience with this, but I'm in recovery from addiction, so in the past I have behaved in very unsavoury ways, to put it mildly. So there is plenty of ammunition there for someone to use and hurt me if they were so inclined. You hope that the people who love you and care about you, the people you surround yourself with, your friends and family, you would hope that they would be respectful enough to not use something from your past, for me, like my addiction, because I am a very different person now. I'm in recovery and I have been for over a year, and I act very differently. It would be very, very unfair for someone to bring up something that I did then, because I'm not that person anymore. And so in terms of setting a boundary, anytime, again, I'm very lucky, this has not happened a lot. There are a couple of instances where it has happened. In those situations, I literally just walk away because that person is not being fair anymore. They're not trying to have a discussion, they're not trying to reach like a consensus, they are trying to hurt me. And if someone is bringing up something from your past to make you feel bad or to win an argument or whatever, that's hurtful and you don't need to tolerate that, and you can set a boundary with that. I think also, not just with something, so for me my addiction is quite obvious, I mean I talk about it a lot, but also people in my life, it's just a part of who I am unfortunately, but I'm making the best of it. This kind of behaviour can be especially hurtful if it is something that you confided in this person, maybe you confided in them a fear or just something that you would only tell someone close to you. No one else would know about it. So a lot of people know about my addiction, for example, but there are some things that I've only told a select few, like only 2 or 3 people, for example. So that is very personal information, and if someone is then using that against me, that is very hurtful. And I know we can all say things in the heat of the moment. These things can come up, but I think if anyone is ever reaching for that personal thing that you told them and is using it against you, they are not respecting you. A kind, self-aware, loving person, no matter how annoyed they got at you, they would not be using your own really personal struggles against you. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind when you're setting boundaries about what you will and won't tolerate. I would say if someone is using something from your past to hurt you, or not to and I don't mean to maliciously, if they are maliciously actively bringing this up to make you feel guilty, obviously run as fast as you can, that's not acceptable. But I mean, even in small ways this can come up where it's not right. I've confided this in you. You can't then turn around and be like, this is your problem because you told me this, or I don't want to share the example I'm thinking of, but it's just, you know it when you experience it. It's with someone that you really, supposedly, you would think that they really cared about you, but it feels very discordant when they use this thing against you, because you're like, really? You're going to turn around and try and use that against me and make me feel bad in this situation? That's not right, I shouldn't have told you that. And to me then, it signals, if they are doing that, that I should take a step back, and that can be a bit of a boundary as well. Like taking a step back emotionally from this person and asking myself, should I trust this person? Should I continue confiding in this person if they're gonna use my history against me? That makes me feel bad, and it also makes me question their judgment and the way that they treat people around them. I don't like that. I don't want to be involved in that. I'm going to take a step back. So that's something to bear in mind. The third thing to bear in mind when you are setting boundaries with friends and family is to protect your peace. This can be very challenging just depending on your living situation or the situation in general. You may feel pressured to attend certain like family events or big occasions. You may not want to be disruptive in terms of keeping your boundaries because you're like, oh, I don't want to make this about me, or I don't want to make a scene here. But if someone is clearly, for example, calling you out about your weight in front of a whole group of people and you're like, I don't want to be disruptive here, but I've said to them before, we're not talking about this, and they're doing it. So you need to then speak up, because that is protecting your peace. Even though it's potentially annoying to everyone else there, you are asserting your boundary in front of everyone. If you determine that the best thing for you to do is to leave a situation in order to protect your peace, that's what you need to prioritize doing. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it does get easier the more you do this. I know it's hard where you feel like you need to do that because you're like, why can't I have people around me who actually understand and I don't need to protect myself from in terms of protecting my peace? But that's where we get on to the next thing to bear in mind when setting boundaries with your friends and family. The fourth thing to keep in mind here of the 5 that we're going through is that you can find your own family and create your own family. As much as it's great if you have people in your life who respect your boundaries and accept your boundaries, that may not always be the case, either in general or just in specific situations. You may find people stepping over things you've said or disregarding your boundaries altogether. That can be difficult, but you can bear in mind the fact that you can make your own family. And again, this is not necessarily great because you might be like, why can't I have these people around me? But sometimes we are not lucky enough to be born into a really supportive, emotionally mature, loving family, and in that case you can create your own family. Yes, it's intimidating, especially for someone like me who is not great at meeting new people at first. I am very quiet, introverted, so it can be difficult to get to know people. While it is intimidating, it's also amazing. What a great opportunity that you can create your own family. Find the people who do get it, who are on the same wavelength as you, who understand you, who don't belittle you, who don't step over your boundaries, who respect you. You can create those healthy relationships outside of your immediate family or your immediate circle of friends who you went to school with or whatever. It is challenging, but it's definitely possible. And if I can do it, if quiet, introverted me can do this, you can definitely do this. I have thankfully found this with people in recovery. We have a very similar lexicon. If I say something, I know they understand exactly what I mean. Even if it's something generic, if I say to someone in recovery that I'm feeling bad or I'm feeling wobbly, or I'm feeling very this and that, like literally, if I say I'm feeling this and that, not like I'm feeling sad and angry, but literally if I'm feeling like, what about this or what about this? They don't necessarily have to say, I get it, I understand, because I know that they do. Like innately, I know they know what that feeling is. If you're missing that kind of validation or that kind of reflection, even just of your feelings, of people acknowledging, like your family acknowledging whatever you're feeling, if you're missing that, you can find that with people who you're not related to or didn't grow up with. I know it's hard, but you can find that, and I'm so grateful that I have that and that I've made my own version of family with people in recovery who understand exactly what I'm talking about. They understand what to say to me, what not to say. Some of them, obviously there's always going to be like personality differences and you're not going to get along with everyone, but that's where you can like curate what your family, your new family, what that looks like. And it's such a healing thing to be with people who you know get it because they've been through it as well. People who are just on your wavelength, you know, and when you get excited about like this film coming out, or you get really into this book series, or really into, I don't know, jewelry making, anything random that you don't have kind of context for within your own family and people are just sort of like baffled by it. It's so healing to find people who like the same things that you do, and they are out there and they do exist and you can find them. So I hope that you do, and that's something to bear in mind if you're struggling. You can always find your own family if you're struggling with your family, respecting your boundaries at the moment. There are people out there who would love to know you and will appreciate your boundaries and everything about you. The fifth thing to bear in mind when setting boundaries with friends and family is that you can validate yourself. Yes, it will be ideal if all of the time people respect what you say. If you say, hey, don't comment on what I wear or what colour lipstick I wear or how I do my nails, literally anything, it would be great if your family and friends at all times respected what you said. But that is not the real world, and I'm assuming that's why you're watching this. So in that case, it is so lovely to be able to validate yourself, no matter how other people are treating you or how you feel in that environment with other people, whether they make you feel seen or they invalidate your boundaries, whatever it is, however you feel. If you can learn to validate yourself, none of that matters so much, and it all becomes kind of noise, and you walk through difficult situations then with this feeling of safety within yourself. It's kind of almost like having a protective aura. To me, it is sad that I'm so in tune with this, because it's like I've had to go so much into this, because in my recovery, even in my active addiction, I really didn't feel like anyone cared or anyone was validating the way that I felt or wanted to understand why I was acting the way that I was. That is a lot to process that kind of sense of loss of connection and loss of support that I really feel like I needed. But the great thing is that I can find all of that connection and that validation, that support, that love that I haven't got from the people around me that I really wish that I had. All of that is in me. The same way that if you're watching this and you're someone who feels things really deeply, the people in your life, you really love them and care about them. Whatever love that you give out to other people, you deserve that for yourself too. You don't have to wait for other people to validate you. You don't have to sit being upset that someone stepped over your boundaries. You can acknowledge that you're upset about that, of course, but you don't have to sit in that feeling. Instead, you can have a cry and be like, I wish this person got it. I wish they understood how disrespectful they're being. But then you can be like, but it's okay, because I can sit with myself now and I can validate myself through writing about this, through going for a walk and just thinking about things. I can validate my feelings, my experiences just for me, and it becomes like this almost like protective skin or like protective aura that you have. Eventually, the more you practice this, the more you sit with your feelings and validate yourself and stop looking for that validation from people who are not going to give it to you. The more you do this, the more you're able to carry that feeling of self-validation with you into any situation. So if you have like a difficult family event or family dinner that you feel obliged to go to, and maybe you even want to go to, there are a few people there that you want to see, but you know that it might also be a bit tricky. There might be people there who will overstep your boundaries, talk about things that you really don't want to talk about. You'll be able to go into that with this inner feeling of confidence and security. The things that people say, yes, it might hurt, but ultimately you will have this like deep-seated feeling of just love and acceptance within yourself, and you can just carry that through any difficult interactions that you have at this event. And it's such a powerful thing. I've made a few videos about self-validation, so I will link them for you at the end. You can validate yourself no matter what happens. You can have your own back and be there for yourself. This has been like a sad video for me to make, but I really hope that some of the things that I've shared here about boundaries, the things you can do to help yourself, I really hope some of this has spoken to you. It can be a really lonely, sad, isolating experience, and it can feel like a real sense of loss, a loss of connection with the people who you hoped would be there for you, whether it was a friend who didn't show up when you really needed them, or you tried to have a conversation with your parent and they just weren't on the same wavelength and had no interest being, and really disregarded the way that you felt or made you feel small or worthless. As horrible as that experience is, it can be something that can help you grow in your relationship with yourself and grow into a better, more empathetic person, and take what lessons I can, and I'm going to take the good, process the bad, and move forward. It's hard, but I am there with you. I know what it's like. If you're going through it, it does get better, and this is a painful journey to be on, but it's also really interesting, exciting, creative, beautiful is the right word. I will leave my self-validation playlist for you now in case you want to go check out some of those videos. I go more in depth about self-validation, which was the 5th thing to bear in mind of this video. God bless, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.